The Voinich Manuscript. All right, let's kick things off with a real head-scratcher. The Voinich Manuscript. Imagine a book, probably from the early 15th century, filled with illustrations of bizarre, alien-looking plants, strange astronomical charts, and naked women bathing in green liquid. Sounds like a wild Saturday night, right? But here's the kicker. The entire thing is written in a language or code that no one, not even the world's best cryptographers and codebreakers who cracked the Enigma code, has been able to decipher. We're talking about a book that has stubbornly refused to give up its secrets for over 600 years. The manuscript is named after Wilfrid Voynich, a Polish book dealer who bought it in Unsolved. It's a modest-looking thing, about 240 pages long, but its contents are anything but ordinary. The text flows smoothly, with an alphabet of 20 to 30 unique characters that repeat in patterns, suggesting it's a real language and not just gibberish. But what language? Theories have been thrown around like confetti at a parade. Some say it's an elaborate hoax, a meaningless string of characters designed to fool some rich, gullible collector. But creating such a complex and internally consistent fake language would be an incredible feat in itself. Why go to all that trouble? Others suggest it's a lost natural language, written in an unknown script. Maybe it's a cipher, where the letters are scrambled according to a secret key. People have tried everything, substituting letters, looking for patterns, even using artificial intelligence to analyze the text. An AI study in 2018 suggested the language might be a form of Hebrew, written in a strange code. But even that is far from a conclusive answer. The illustrations are just as baffling. The plants don't match any known species on Earth. The astronomical diagrams feature zodiac signs, but also constellations we can't recognize. And the bathing ladies? Your guess is as good as mine. Are they part of a ritual, an alchemy recipe, a medieval health manual? The manuscript gives us all these tantalizing clues, but no clear answers. It's the ultimate locked room mystery. But instead of a room, it's a book. And the secrets it holds are so well guarded, they might as well be on another planet. What do you think? Is it a brilliant, elaborate hoax, or the last surviving remnant of a lost world of knowledge? The Antither Mechanism. Next up, we have something that completely shatters our idea of what ancient civilizations were capable of. It's called the Antither Mechanism. And to put it simply, it's an ancient Greek analog computer. Yeah, you heard that right, a computer. From over 2,000 years ago. It was discovered in 1901 in a Roman-era shipwreck off the coast of the Greek island of Antikythera. At first, the corroded lump of bronze was overlooked. But as scientists started examining it with X-rays and advanced imaging, they found something astonishing inside. A complex system of at least 30 interlocking bronze gears. This wasn't just some simple clockwork. The Antikythera mechanism was an incredibly sophisticated astronomical calculator. It could predict the positions of the sun, moon, and the 5 planets known to the ancient Greeks. It could also predict lunar and solar eclipses with remarkable accuracy and even track the 4-year cycle of the ancient Olympic Games. Think about that for a second. This device, built around 100 BC, was doing things that technology in Europe wouldn't be able to replicate for another 1,500 years. It's like finding a jet engine in a medieval castle. The sheer complexity of it is mind-boggling. The gears were cut with a precision that is stunning even by today's standards. Some of the teeth on the gears are only a millimeter long. It even had a differential gear, which was previously thought to have been invented in the 16th century. This allowed it to calculate the variable motion of the moon. So, who made this thing, and why is it the only one we've ever found? The craftsmanship suggests a long tradition of building such devices, but we have no other examples. It's as if a genius inventor, a sort of ancient Greek Steve Jobs, created this masterpiece, and then the knowledge was just lost. Was it a one-of-a-kind creation? Or are there other similar devices still lying at the bottom of the ocean, waiting to be discovered? The Antikythera mechanism forces us to ask, what else did the ancient Greeks know that we've forgotten? It's a humbling reminder that our ancestors were far more advanced than we often give them credit for. The Great Pyramid of Giza's construction. You can't have a list of ancient mysteries without talking about the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's the last of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, still standing, and for good reason. It's a masterpiece of engineering and logistics that still baffles us today. Built around 2560 BC as a tomb for the pharaoh Khufu, it consists of an estimated 2.3 million stone blocks, each weighing an average of 2.5 tons. Some of the granite blocks in the king's chamber, transported from a quarry over 500 miles away, weigh up to 80 tons. And all of this was built in a period of about 20 years. How in the world did they do it? The mainstream theory is that they used a massive workforce of skilled laborers, not slaves, as Hollywood would have you believe, to quarry the stones and transport them to the site. They then likely used a system of ramps to haul the blocks up the pyramid as it was being built. But the exact type of ramp is a subject of intense debate. Was it a single, long, straight ramp? A ramp that spiraled around the outside of the pyramid? Or maybe an internal ramp built within the structure itself? A recent scan using cosmic ray muons, don't ask, revealed a large, previously unknown void inside the pyramid, which some archaeologists think could be this internal ramp. But even with a ramp, the logistics are staggering. How did they cut the stones with such precision? The blocks fit together so tightly that you can't even fit a piece of paper between them. And how did they achieve such perfect alignment? The pyramid is aligned to true north with an accuracy of within 1/10 of a degree. They did this without compasses, without advanced astronomical tools, without any of the technology we'd consider essential for such a project. There are, of course, the more out there theories involving aliens or a lost, advanced civilization. And while it's fun to speculate, the truth is probably more grounded in human ingenuity. But the fact remains, we still don't know exactly how they pulled it off. The Great Pyramid stands as a silent testament to the incredible skill and ambition of the ancient Egyptians, a puzzle of stone and sand that we are still trying to solve. The Nazca Lines. Let's head over to the arid plains of southern Peru, where we find one of the most enigmatic and visually stunning mysteries of the ancient world, the Nazca Lines. These are a series of enormous geoglyphs, etched into the desert floor sometime between 500 BC and 500 AD by the Nazca culture. And when I say enormous, I mean it. There are hundreds of them, ranging from simple geometric shapes and lines to massive detailed drawings of animals, birds, and humans. There's a spider, a hummingbird, a monkey with a spiral tail, and a strange humanoid figure that some have nicknamed the astronaut. The largest figures are over 1,200 feet long. Here's the truly bizarre part. These figures are so large that they can only be fully appreciated from the air, which raises the obvious question. Why would a civilization that, as far as we know, didn't have any form of aviation create massive works of art that could only be seen from the sky? How did they even create them with such precision? The method was relatively simple. They removed the reddish-brown, iron oxide-coated pebbles that cover the surface of the desert, revealing the lighter-colored earth underneath. But to create such large and precise figures, they would have needed a sophisticated understanding of geometry and a way to scale up small designs. The purpose of the lines is another huge mystery. Were they some kind of astronomical calendar, aligned with the stars or the solstices? Some researchers have found correlations, but they're not consistent across all the figures. Were they pathways for religious processions? Part of rituals to summon water from the gods in this incredibly dry region? Or were they, as some more imaginative theorists have suggested, landing strips for alien spacecraft? While the alien theory is fun, it's not taken seriously by archaeologists. The most likely explanation is that the lines had a ritualistic or ceremonial purpose, intended to be seen by the gods in the sky, not by humans. But without any written records from the Nazca people, we can only speculate. The lines remain silent and sprawling, a giant open-air art gallery with a meaning that is lost to the sands of time. Stonehenge. No journey into ancient mysteries would be complete without a stop at Stonehenge. This prehistoric monument on Salisbury Plain in England is one of the most famous and instantly recognizable sites in the world. But despite its fame, it's still shrouded in mystery. Built in several stages over a period of about 1,500 years, starting around 3000 BC, Stonehenge is a masterpiece of megalithic architecture. The largest stones, known as sarzens, weigh up to 30 tons and were transported from a quarry about 20 miles away. Even more impressive are the smaller blue stones, which weigh about 4 tons each and were brought all the way from the Preseli Hills in Wales, a journey of over 150 miles. How did a Neolithic society, with no wheels and no beasts of burden, transport these massive stones over such a huge distance? And why did they do it? The purpose of Stonehenge has been debated for centuries. It's clearly aligned with the movements of the sun. On the summer solstice, the sun rises directly over the heelstone, and its rays shine into the center of the monument. On the winter solstice, the sun sets in the opposite direction. This has led many to believe it was a kind of astronomical observatory or temple to the sun. But it was also a burial ground. Excavations have revealed hundreds of cremation burials, making it the largest Neolithic cemetery in Britain. So was it a temple, a cemetery, or both? Some recent theories suggest it was a place of healing, a sort of ancient Lourdes where people came to be cured of their ailments. This is supported by the fact that many of the skeletons found there show signs of serious illness or injury. Another theory is that it was a monument to unify the different peoples of Britain, a massive collaborative project that brought people together from all over the island. The truth is, it was probably all of these things and more. Stonehenge wasn't just built in one go. It was used and modified for centuries. Its meaning and purpose likely changed over time. It's a complex, multi-layered puzzle, and while we've figured out some of the pieces, the full picture remains tantalizingly out of reach. The lost city of Helik. We've all heard the legend of Atlantis, the mythical city that sank beneath the waves. But what if I told you there was a real-life Atlantis, a prosperous, powerful city that was swallowed by the sea in a single night? Welcome to the story of Helik. For centuries, Helik was a major city in ancient Greece, the capital of the Achaean League. It was a center of worship for Poseidon, the god of the sea and earthquakes, which is a bit ironic, as you'll see. Then, on a winter night in 373 BC, disaster struck. A massive earthquake, followed by a giant tsunami, completely destroyed the city and submerged it under the waters of the Gulf of Corinth. The city, its people, and its treasures were all lost. For centuries, the story of Helike was thought to be just a legend, a cautionary tale about the power of the gods. Ancient writers described how, for years after the disaster, you could still see the ruins of the city and the standing statue of Poseidon through the clear waters of the lagoon that had formed over it. But as time went on, the location was lost, and Helike faded into myth. That is, until the late 20th century, when two archaeologists, Dora Katsonopoulou and Stephen Soter, became convinced that Helike was real and that they could find it. They spent years searching using ancient texts, geological data, and a whole lot of persistence. Finally, in 2001, they found it. But it wasn't in the Gulf of Corinth. It was several hundred meters inland, buried under layers of river silt and sediment. Over the centuries, the lagoon had filled in, preserving the city in a time capsule of mud. Excavations have revealed the remains of buildings, city walls, pottery, and even the skeletons of some of its unfortunate inhabitants. The discovery of Helike is incredible for two reasons. First, it proves that the ancient stories were true. And second, it gives us a chance to explore a classical Greek city that has been untouched for over 2,000 years. Who knows what other secrets are still buried there, waiting to be uncovered? Helike is a powerful reminder that sometimes the most fantastic legends have a basis in reality. The Tarim mummies. In the remote Tarim Basin in western China, a series of discoveries were made that have completely challenged our understanding of ancient history. In the 1980s and 90s, archaeologists unearthed over 100 naturally mummified bodies, some of them over 4,000 years old. The dry, salty desert soil had preserved them so perfectly that their skin, hair, and even their clothes were intact. But here's the shocking part. These mummies weren't Asian. They were Caucasian, with fair hair, long noses, and deep-set eyes. One of them, a woman nicknamed the Beauty of Lulan, had reddish blonde hair and looked so peaceful, it was as if she was just asleep. So what were a bunch of European-looking people doing in the middle of China 4,000 years ago? This was a time when it was thought that East and West had very little contact. The discovery of the Tarim mummies suggests that people were migrating and interacting across Eurasia far earlier than previously believed. DNA analysis has confirmed that they were of mixed ancestry, with links to both Europe and Siberia. They were likely part of the Indo-European migrations, a wave of people who spread out from the Pontic-Caspian steppe, modern-day Ukraine and southern Russia, and carried their languages and culture across a vast area. The mummies were buried with a fascinating array of artifacts. They wore colorful woolen textiles, some of the earliest examples of plaid in the world. They were buried with bronze tools, leather boots, and in some cases even cheese. One male mummy, known as Cherchen Man, was buried with 10 hats. Why 10 hats? We have no idea. The existence of these mummies raises so many questions. What was their culture like? What language did they speak? What were their beliefs? And what happened to them? Did they eventually assimilate into the local population, or did they die out? The Tarim mummies are a vibrant and slightly eerie snapshot of a lost world, a testament to the complex and surprising movements of people in our ancient past. Gobekletepe. For a long time, we had a pretty clear picture of how human civilization developed. First, we invented agriculture. Then, with a stable food supply, we settled down in villages, which grew into cities. And then, with all that free time and from not having to chase mammoths all day, we started building impressive structures and developing complex religions. It's a nice, neat story. But a discovery in southeastern Turkey in the 990s has completely torn that story to shreds. It's called Gobekli Tepe, and it's a game changer. Gobekli Tepe is a massive temple complex, built around 9600 BC. That's an astonishing 6,000 years before Stonehenge, and 7,000 years before the Great Pyramid. But what's truly mind-blowing is that it was built by hunter-gatherers. These were people who hadn't yet domesticated animals or cultivated crops. They were living in a pre-agricultural, pre-pottery, pre-writing society. And yet, somehow, they managed to build this. The site consists of a series of circular enclosures with massive T-shaped limestone pillars, some of them weighing up to 20 tons. The pillars are decorated with intricate carvings of animals: lions, boars, foxes, snakes, and vultures. The discovery of Gobekli Tepe suggests that we might have the story of civilization completely backward. It seems that it was the desire to build this massive religious structure that brought people together and spurred them on to invent agriculture. Building something on this scale would have required a large, coordinated workforce. And to feed that workforce, they would have needed a stable and abundant food supply. It's possible that they started cultivating the wild grasses that grew in the area to feed the workers, which eventually led to the development of agriculture. So it wasn't farming that led to temples and religion. It was the desire to build a temple that led to farming. This completely flips the script on the origins of civilization. Gobekli Tepe is arguably the most important archaeological site in the world right now. It's a window into a time we knew very little about, and it's forcing us to rethink everything we thought we knew about our own past. The Sajama Lines. We've talked about the Nazca Lines in Peru, but what if I told you there was another, even larger and more mysterious network of lines in South America? Let's travel to the high plains of western Bolivia, near the volcano of Sajama. Here, etched into the ground over an area of nearly 9,000 square miles, are the Sajama Lines. This is a vast network of thousands, possibly tens of thousands, of perfectly straight lines, some of them running for miles across the landscape. They crisscross each other, forming a giant, web-like pattern that is so extensive, it's difficult to see from the ground. Like the Nazca Lines, they were created by scraping away the darker, oxidized surface layer to reveal the lighter soil underneath. They were likely created by the indigenous people who lived in the area for thousands of years, long before the Inca Empire. But why? The scale of the project is almost incomprehensible. It's estimated that the total length of the lines is around 10,000 miles. That's almost 3 times the width of the United States. And they are all incredibly straight, regardless of the terrain. They go up and down hills, across valleys, and over obstacles, all while maintaining their perfect straightness. The purpose of the Sajama Lines is a complete mystery. They don't seem to form any recognizable images like the Nazca Lines. They are not aligned with any astronomical phenomena in a consistent way. Some of the lines radiate out from important sites, like tombs or shrines, suggesting they may have been used as sacred pathways or pilgrimage routes. But the sheer number and complexity of the lines go beyond any simple explanation. Were they a way of marking territory? A giant map? A form of religious art? Or something else entirely? Something we can't even begin to comprehend? The Sajama Lines are a testament to the incredible effort and devotion of an ancient people, a massive silent message written on the face of the earth, whose meaning is, for now, lost to us. The Baghdad Battery. Our final mystery takes us to modern-day Iraq, the cradle of civilization. In 1936, near Baghdad, a strange object was discovered that has sparked decades of debate and controversy. It's a small, unassuming clay pot, about 5 inches tall. Inside, there was a copper cylinder, and inside that, an iron rod. The whole thing was sealed with an asphalt plug. It dates back to the Parthian period, sometime between 250 BC and 220 War AD. So what is it? Well, according to some, it's an ancient electric battery. The theory goes that if you fill the pot with an acidic liquid like vinegar or grape juice, the combination of the copper and iron will create an electrochemical reaction, producing a small but steady electric current. And it works. Replicas of the Baghdad battery have been shown to produce a voltage of around 0.5 to 1 volt. Not a lot, but enough for some interesting applications. So, were the ancient Parthians zapping themselves for fun? Probably not. The most popular theory is that these batteries were used for electroplating, depositing a thin layer of gold or silver onto another metal object. This would have been a much cheaper way to create fancy-looking jewelry and ornaments. However, many archaeologists are skeptical. They point out that we have no other evidence of electroplating from this period. There are no electroplated artifacts, no tools, no written descriptions. They argue that the object is more likely a storage vessel for sacred scrolls, and the copper and iron are just part of the structure. The acidic residue found inside could have come from the decomposition of the papyrus scrolls. So, which is it? A revolutionary piece of ancient technology that was thousands of years ahead of its time, or a simple, misunderstood container? Without more evidence, it's impossible to say for sure. The Baghdad battery remains a fascinating and frustrating puzzle, a tiny object that could potentially rewrite our history of technology. It's a perfect example of how a single, out-of-place artifact can challenge our assumptions and remind us that the ancient world is still full of surprises.